Pan Am talked Boeing into building the 747. 21 years later, Pan Am no longer existed. For 64 years, American World Airways was America's unofficial national airline. For most of its history, it barely flew inside its own country at all. It began in 1927 with one mail contract and 0 working airplanes. By 1970, it flew to 86 countries on every continent except Antarctica. By the 1970s, its jets defined what an airplane was supposed to look like. If you like watching giants fall, hit subscribe. More of this every week. This is how Pan Am built the modern world, then couldn't survive it.
Juan Trippe was 28 when he won a contract to fly the mail to Cuba. One problem: his airline did not own a single airplane that could do it. Cuba hadn't even granted him landing rights when the contract was signed. He'd quietly secured them months earlier, flying in himself to shake hands. 3 days before the deadline, Key West's own airfield still wasn't finished. Trippe chartered a seaplane from a rival airline, grounded there by weather. On October 19, 1927, it flew 90 miles of mail to Havana. He then hired Charles Lindbergh, the world's most famous pilot, as an advisor. Trippe then raced across Latin America, locking up landing rights before rivals arrived. Washington liked having one airline handle foreign relations by handshake. Pan Am became it. Yale classmates called him Mummy for how little he ever let slip. Franklin Roosevelt reportedly called him a Yale-educated gangster. Trippe took it as a compliment.
Runways barely existed across oceans yet, so Pan Am built seaplanes instead. It called them clippers, borrowing the name from the fastest sailing ships. In 1935, the China Clipper flew mail from California to the Philippines. The trip took 6 days, hopping between tiny mid-ocean islands to refuel. A year later, paying passengers could finally book the same 6-day journey. On board, there were sleeping berths, a dining room, and white-jacketed stewards. In June 1939, its Dixie Clipper flew the first scheduled transatlantic passenger service. By 1947, you could book one ticket and fly all the way around the world. Crossing an ocean, for the first time, no longer meant boarding a ship. Pan Am didn't just sell tickets, it sold the idea of the whole world.
In 1945, Trippe pushed for cheaper tourist-class fares across the Atlantic. Rival airlines hated it. By 1952, they adopted his idea anyway. In 1957, Pan Am finalized the blue globe that made it instantly recognizable. Stewardesses needed 2 years of college and a second language just to apply. Out of roughly 800 applicants, about 2 were hired. In 1960, its JFK terminal opened wearing a roof shaped like a flying saucer. In 1963, Pan Am opened its own 59-story skyscraper over Grand Central. For 3 years, a helicopter shuttled passengers from its rooftop straight to the airport. Locals nicknamed it the Worldport. It was, briefly, the largest terminal on Earth. None of this made money by itself. It made Pan Am impossible to ignore.
In 1965, Trippe told Boeing's president, "If you build it, I'll buy it." Boeing didn't have a plane that big. Trippe didn't have proof anyone wanted one. In 1966, he ordered 25 of them anyway, for roughly $500 million. Boeing's own engineers later said the 747 wouldn't exist without Trippe pushing for it. He also insisted on a lounge upstairs. The 747's hump exists because he asked. He retired in 1968, before the plane he ordered ever flew a passenger. It flew its first passengers on January 22, 1970, a day late after engine trouble. The jumbo jet was Pan Am's idea before it was anyone else's plane. This was the peak. Everything Pan Am was, all at once, in one airplane.
3 years after the 747 arrived, an oil embargo tripled the price of jet fuel. Pan Am now owned the thirstiest fleet in the sky at the worst possible time. Fuel alone added close to $200 million to its costs in a year. Passengers cut back on flying. First-class seats crossed oceans conspicuously empty. By 1976, Pan Am had lost $364 million over 7 years. It was carrying roughly $1 billion in debt, much of it for planes. The jet that made Pan Am famous was now the thing weighing it down.
Pan Am had asked United and American to merge with it before. Both said no. For decades, U.S. law had kept Pan Am off domestic routes almost entirely. In exchange, it got something close to exclusive rights to fly overseas. In 1978, deregulation tore up that whole arrangement overnight. Now, United and American could fly to London too, and feed passengers first. Their domestic networks funneled travelers straight onto their new international flights. Pan Am's Chicago to London flight had no domestic network behind it at all. The airline that flew everywhere overseas couldn't get you to the airport at home.
Deregulation meant any domestic carrier might now also fly overseas. Pan Am had to move. In 1980, Pan Am finally bought itself a domestic network, National Airlines. Eastern Airlines was bidding too, and the price kept climbing. The price was $437 million after a costly bidding war. To merge the two workforces, Pan Am raised National's wages to match its own. Generous for the employees, costly for a route network built on cheap fares. Revenue rose 62%. Costs rose even faster than that. Flights that made money under National's old costs lost money under Pan Am's new ones.
To raise cash, Pan Am started selling the things that made it Pan Am. In 1981, it sold its own 59-story headquarters for $400 million. It kept paying rent to work inside the tower it used to own. That same year, it sold its hotel chain too, reportedly for around $500 million. In 1985, 19,000 of its workers went on strike over deep pay cuts. In 1985, it sold its entire Pacific network, a quarter of the airline, to United. The price was $750 million and 11 of its own jumbo jets. Pan Am had once crossed the Pacific before any other airline dared try. Now it paid its bills by handing that ocean to someone else. Every sale covered a debt. None of them fixed why the debt existed.
On December 21, 1988, Pan Am Flight 103 left London for New York. A bomb hidden inside a cassette recorder was in the cargo hold. It detonated at 31,000 feet over Lockerbie, Scotland. All 259 people aboard the plane were killed. 11 more died on the ground in Lockerbie itself. 270 people died in total that night. 35 were Syracuse University students flying home from a semester abroad. 2 Libyan intelligence officers were later charged with planting the bomb. In 2001, a Scottish court convicted one of them, Abdel Basset al-Megrahi. Pan Am never recovered, in trust or in finances, from that night. After Lockerbie, Pan Am faced lawsuits and fines for years of security lapses. Then, in 1990, the Gulf War sent fuel prices up and travelers into hiding. Pan Am filed for bankruptcy on January 8, 1991. It sold the shuttle and its transatlantic routes to Delta for about $1.4 billion. United later bought its Latin American routes at a bankruptcy auction. Pan Am kept flying a smaller airline, hoping to survive on what remained. It even relaunched flights on November 1st, hoping the plan would hold. In December, Delta withdrew the financing that plan depended on. On December 4th, 1991, Pan Am ran out of ways to keep flying. It reportedly put around 11,000 employees out of work worldwide that day.
Pan Am invented intercontinental travel and never really lived inside the country it flew from. The 747 was its proudest achievement, and the plane deregulation made too expensive to run empty. Being the most prestigious airline in the world was never the same as being the sturdiest. The final Pan Am flight landed in Miami before dawn on December 4th, 1991. 64 years after that first mail run to Havana, the Blue Globe stopped flying. The name still exists. It's licensed onto luggage now, not aircraft.
It built the world's routes and never built a reason to come home. That kind of blind spot, built by your own greatest strength, isn't rare. It's the subject of the next story on this channel. Subscribe and go watch it.